Have you ever had the strange feeling that your entire life has been quietly training you for something you couldn't name yet? Not a vague hope, not wishful thinking, but a deep inner certainty that settles in your chest and refuses to leave. A knowing that every hardship, every delay, every silent night was not random, but arranged with precision. If that feeling has been following you, I need you to listen carefully, because that moment you've been sensing is no longer approaching. It has arrived. In the next 24 hours, during the 12-on-12 portal, something shifts for you in a way that has never happened before in your life. This is not symbolic. This is not motivational language. This is a turning point so intense that even heaven can no longer stay quiet. What you are about to step into is the result of a cycle that nearly broke you. And the reason it didn't is because you were never meant to be broken. You were meant to be forged. And when this cycle closes, God does something rare. He doesn't whisper. He doesn't observe from a distance. He proclaims. He calls your name across dimensions because what you survived proves something undeniable. You did not quit when quitting made sense. You did not become small when the pressure demanded collapse. And now, at the final portal of this year, the truth that has been quietly building is announced. You made it. Before we go deeper, take a second and like this video. Not as a habit, as a signal. Because when something resonates this deeply, interaction matters. And if you're not subscribed yet, do it now and turn on notifications. What's unfolding here doesn't end with this moment. The 12-12 portal is not about becoming someone new. It is about being recognized for who you already became. All year long, you were tested in ways no one applauded. You were challenged when there was no audience. You chose integrity when it cost you comfort. And heaven noticed every single time. This moment is different because it's not about growth anymore. Growth already happened. This is proclamation. Think about the difference between learning quietly and graduating publicly. Between winning a battle and being officially declared victorious. The work was done in silence. The recognition is not. All year God watched you without interrupting. Not because he was distant, but because the strength you were building had to be real. He watched you choose the harder response when the easier one was available. He watched you walk away instead of retaliating. He watched you keep moving when everything in you wanted to rest forever. And there were moments when he wanted to intervene, but didn't, because this victory had to be yours. And now that restraint ends, because 5 days ago something happened that sealed everything. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It was not a minor inconvenience. It was not a small emotional challenge. It was something sharp enough to break a person's spirit if they let it. A betrayal, a loss, a humiliation, a realization that cut deeper than words. Something that made you stop and question whether continuing even made sense. Most people crumble at that point. They lash out. They collapse. They try to be seen, understood, validated, or they numb themselves and slowly disappear. But you didn't. You stayed composed. You didn't beg. You didn't explain. You didn't try to prove your worth. You simply closed the door and kept going. That reaction is what changed everything. Because spiritual evaluation is not based on how you act when life is kind. It's based on who you are when life is unfair. Anyone can be peaceful when nothing is threatened. Anyone can be good when it's easy. But dignity under pressure reveals truth. And the moment you chose composure instead of collapse, a protocol was activated. In that instant, authorization was given to remove obstacles that were no longer necessary. That's why, over the past few days, things may have felt oddly lighter. Certain worries lost their grip. Certain people faded out without drama. That constant anxiety softened. This wasn't time healing wounds. This was preparation. Because what arrives through the 12-12 portal cannot coexist with old weight. While that clearing was happening, something else was taking place. God wasn't evaluating you anymore. He was preparing something, not to test you, but to deliver what was withheld until you were ready. And this is important. God does not delay blessings out of cruelty. He delays them out of protection. Some things, if given too early, destroy the very person they were meant to help. You needed to become steady first. You did. Now pause for a moment. If this is resonating, comment 12-1-12 below. Not for visibility, for alignment. Words matter more than people realize. Before you were born, your soul agreed to something difficult. You weren't sent here for comfort. You were sent here for development. You were shown two paths. One easy, safe, ordinary, and one demanding, isolating, transformative. You chose the harder one knowingly. You knew there would be moments of loneliness, You knew there would be betrayals. You knew there would be nights you'd feel unseen. And still, you chose it. There was never a guarantee you'd finish. The probability of quitting was real. But you crossed every dark stretch without losing your essence. You stayed kind when bitterness was justified. You stayed open when closing your heart felt safer. That's why this moment matters. God doesn't celebrate comfort. He celebrates completion. And when you cross the 12-12 portal, something happens that changes your internal frequency. Not metaphorically, functionally. Clarity replaces confusion. Direction replaces doubt. You don't suddenly have all the answers, but you know your next step with certainty. A financial concern begins to untangle, not instantly solved, but clearly solvable. A conversation appears, a message, an idea, a door. Someone from your past reaches out, casual on the surface, meaningful underneath. Your sleep changes. A dream arrives with clarity instead of chaos. A message you remember. And something physical releases, like pressure lifting from your chest. You breathe deeper without realizing why. These aren't guesses, they're effects, and there's more. Because you are not only crossing for yourself. There is something distinct about you that was recorded long ago. Every time pain entered your life, you didn't just ask, why is this happening? You asked even quietly, what is this shaping? That instinct reveals a soul designed to carry responsibility, not just survival. That's why after the portal, people respond to you differently. Without effort, without intention, your presence steadies others. Conversations with you leave people lighter. Being near you calms nervous systems. You become a carrier of reassurance simply by being. Every time that happens, something expands. Because your journey was never meant to end with you. And yes, if this is hitting home, make sure you're subscribed. This channel exists for moments exactly like this. There is also something deeply personal happening during this portal. God responds to honesty more than perfection. And during your darkest moments, you didn't perform faith. You spoke honestly. You questioned. You expressed anger. You demanded clarity. And that honesty mattered more than polite prayers ever could. Because raw truth is real connection. In the next 24 hours, there will be a moment, quiet, ordinary on the surface, where you feel an undeniable sense of being held. Not imagined, not emotional hype, a calm certainty that says, you were never alone. And that moment rearranges something inside you permanently. Now listen carefully. What you gave up to remain aligned, that sacrifice was seen. And what replaces it will not resemble what you lost. It will be better in ways you couldn't conceptualize then. What you thought was taken was only removed because it could not come with you. The replacement begins now. After the portal, there may be a brief stillness, a strange emotional pause, fatigue, sensitivity. That's not regression. It's recalibration. Old frequency leaving, new frequency settling. By the third day, you'll feel it. This is your new baseline. You didn't imagine this. You didn't earn it by suffering. You completed what you agreed to complete. Like the video, comment, stay connected. You didn't survive by accident. You were prepared, and now you cross.